Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sunday morning, the first Sunday of the new year. With us today is Senator George Borrello, and he's from Chautauqua County. And George, Senator, what's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year, John. Good to be on the first Cats Roundtable of the new year. Well, I'll tell you, it's a new year, John, but we want to look at some old problems in Albany, and we saw what's going on in Minnesota and the billions of dollars in fraud that is occurring in our Medicaid program. And myself and the entire Republican conference in the New York State Senate has sent a letter to the governor asking her to open an investigation and an audit of all of these programs. This is likely a multi-billion-dollar scam that's going on across New York State, but particularly in blue states like New York. You're certainly seeing in Minnesota, California, where clearly there has been no investigation of this fraud. And we know it's happening here in New York. It's happening in New York in the Medicaid non-emergency transportation program. It's happening in several programs here in New York. So you know it's happening like we're seeing it in Minnesota. And it's time for us to stand up as tax-paying New Yorkers of any party saying enough is enough. Let's clear out the fraud here in New York State.
Well, that certainly we want to do. I mean, I've said to people jokingly, but I really believe that if we got rid of the fraud in the United States of America and the money we're giving away on stupid things in the rest of the world, that maybe that $2 trillion deficit might go away.
Well, we have to. This is not just about taxpayer money. This is borrowing money against future generations. Keep in mind the federal government last year borrowed over $2 trillion with a T, $2 trillion to provide services. So how can we afford to pay out hundreds of billions of dollars a year in fraudulent claims, in some cases going to terrorist organizations in countries like Somalia, and burden future generations with this massive federal debt? It is the biggest threat to our national security, and the fact that we are supporting fraudulent programs across this country, particularly in Democrat states, is just absolutely shameful, and we have to address it for the future of our country and certainly for future generations.
I agree with you, but what happened in Minnesota? How can it happen for $1 billion? I mean, everybody was worried about it happening for $1 billion, but it looks like it's multiple times of that.
Well, absolutely. And look, let's not forget one thing. There are a lot of people out there that are making a lot of money off of this that are donating to quite frankly, the people in charge. And in the case of New York and Minnesota and California, it's the Democrats in charge. You're seeing that over and over here in New York State. I mean, finally, reluctantly, the Attorney General here in New York started going after Medicaid fraud, particularly this Medicaid and non-emergency medical transportation. And she found over a dozen cases just last year alone where there was massive fraud in this program. This is basically where taxi drivers take people to non-emergency medical appointments. And these transportation brokers that were created by Andrew Cuomo about a decade ago are profiting millions upon millions of dollars because the longer the trip is, the more money they make. And yet, even though this has been exposed, even though the governor is aware of it, the Medicaid redesign team pointed it out years ago, Andrew Cuomo knew it was a total boondoggle. Despite that, nothing has changed. Zero. Why? Because the principals of these transportation brokers are big donors to Kathy Hochul, and she doesn't want to make any changes. So let's be clear about one thing. When you see fraud in your face, like is occurring here in New York and across this country, and you know that nothing's being done about it, that's when we have to ask ourselves, why? Follow the money. And the money is certainly campaign contributions from these fraudulent companies that are committing fraud against the taxpayers of this state and states across the nation.
Senator, I keep repeating the same number as comparison between New York and Florida because if I repeat it enough times, maybe it'll sink in. New York City and New York State has a $370 billion budget for 19.7 million people. Florida, for 23.9 million people, has a total budget of $120 billion. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Where's the rest of the money?
Well, it's astounding, John. First of all, to add to your numbers, let's talk about Medicaid again. 44% of New Yorkers are on Medicaid. That is an astounding number.
But there's more elderly people in Florida.
Well, Medicaid. We're not talking Medicare. I'm talking Medicaid. Medicaid is not age related like it is with Medicare. We're talking about people that are getting the best health insurance coverage, quite frankly, where you can wander into an emergency room and have everything covered, even when you have a non-emergency, the sniffles or a hangnail, and you can show up in an emergency room. And thanks to Kathy Hochul and the Democrats in charge, that emergency room has to care for all your needs, even though it's not an emergency situation, and will not be reimbursed enough, quite frankly, to provide those services. So it's a great deal for if you want to come and live off the taxpayers in New York State. This is the best place in the world to not work, New York State. And that's why our budget is so high. The biggest percentage of our $254 billion state budget is social welfare programs. It's Medicaid, it's SNAP, it's all those other programs that are absolutely dripping with fraud that no one wants to, quite frankly, no one wants to reform, because the less people on means less people voting for Democrats, unfortunately.
That is mind-boggling. Well, I'm just very upset about it. I think the whole country's upset about it. And let's see, how did the British say it? Let's see how things sort themselves out.
Well, actually, I will take the saying that I like better from a Brit, and that is, the problem with socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money. That's what Margaret Thatcher said, and she was right. And here we are in New York State with socialism, quite frankly, spreading like cancer across the state, particularly in New York City. And eventually they're going to run out of other people's money. And let's hope that day comes sooner than later.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you so much for coming on for the first Sunday of the new year.
Happy New Year.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.